ones who have seen it have gotten real excited about it. Imagine this, Coach Hickenbotham. Imagine that in the morning your phone buzzed and it said teammate trivia window is open. And for 1 hour, you had a chance to answer a question about a teammate. And if you got it right, you got a point. But if you're the very first one to answer it, you get 2 points. And it's going to be questions about what do you want to be when you're 30? What's your most embarrassing sports moment? What's your favorite pregame song? What's your favorite fast food? Just little general questions like that. Then you show up for school and you help a kid. Maybe you do something good for a classmate, and your teacher either emails your coach or gets her phone out or his phone out and gives you a plus for being a good citizen. Or you, at lunch, you put up somebody else's tray, an assistant principal gets his phone out and gets on this app and says, Jeremy plus one, put up a tray. I got a coach in Indiana who uses this app, and he says his favorite part about it is on the weekends. He says, we have these 9 change of direction drills that we really can't get to this summer. And I tell him, if you'll video yourself doing these 9 change of direction drills, I'll give you a point. And he said, man, they're killing it. We all want streaks and badges and ratings. It's just how our brains work. When my oldest daughter was in gymnastics and she learned a new skill, she got to go ring the bell. And when I was in Germany, I had a 38-year-old diabetic center who wanted helmet stickers, just like your kids do and everybody's does. So we don't outgrow this. When I was coaching, we did a really good job of measuring and posting and tracking, and it was a lot of trouble. But I think one of my strengths is I want to fascinate kids and make them love being in our program. It's the best part of their day. And I think for you to do that, it can't be about technique. It's got to be what drives them. And someone told me this the other day, probably a month ago, and I don't know how to prove it, but I'm not going to argue with it, that a kid today who posts something on social media and gets a bunch of likes gets the same dopamine hit as you and I scoring a touchdown in the 80s. I agree with it. We got 2 ways we can do this. We can be old man, you kids get off my lawn, or we can figure out a way to energize them and motivate them and use what they like. About 4 months ago, I decided to build an app. Never built an app before. It'd be like your cousin Lenny doing it. But I'm one of those guys who will just go, man, I'm going to figure it out. I hired a person to do all the coding, not a coach. Had to explain a lot of things along the way, and we're still adding things. And I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I've never played Madden, but I know about Madden. Your coaches, every time I've asked coaches younger than me, they've all played it. This is Caleb Williams for the Bears, and he's the cover person on Madden. And he wishes he was a 99, and 99 is the highest you can be in Madden. Have you ever played Madden, Coach?
Coach, I have. I played it in college, Tecmo Bowl.
Okay, I started not to ask you because I figured you hadn't, but so you have a
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
Okay, and so your kids do, your coaches do. So here's what this app does, Coach, is every time your kids do something worthy of getting a point, their OVR rating is going to go up. And OVR stands for overall rating. And if I got a school coach in Fort Worth who's going to give Dolores at the front desk access. And if a kid walks in tardy first period with a Starbucks, she's going to minus their OVR for being tardy.
Yeah.
They're going to care because their rating is going to go down. So this is a big deal. So here's how I thought, okay, I care about my Facebook Marketplace rating. I care about if the Uber driver says that I was a good passenger. And I think that's built in us. And so I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Coach, I think this is a holy grail, coach. How can I give a kid a quantitative score for being a good kid? And one time, coach, in January, I went to this East Texas town and I did a athletics audit. And I stayed there 3 days and observed and met with leadership council kids, boys and girls. The superintendent's a friend of mine. One time I'm meeting with these kids and I said, you know, guys, is it cool to be a good kid here? You could just tell that was a question that they're like, you know, coach, it's probably not. You know, on the weekends, the cool kids are getting drunk and all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, I think this is going to be a way for the good kids to have a good score and be celebrated. And I know you know what I'm talking about, coach, but I used to have a receiver who was a turd, but I had to have him. And he showed up every day and he didn't cuss me, but he was one of those kids you didn't like to coach, but you had to have him. And his picture is going to be in the paper for scoring a touchdown. And those really good kids, I don't know how to celebrate those kids. Now we do. So this app is going to find ways. So that kid, literally his name was Polo. His dad named him Polo and because he wanted him to be famous or something and ruined him. And but Polo would have had a bad OVR score. And even though his picture would have been in the paper and all that, the kids on the team, he would have had a score. What this does, coach, is it quantifies if you're a good kid. I used to ask my players every day in the summer, raise your hand if you brought somebody to work out today. That was a big deal to me. Who's driving around and picking up teammates? We would celebrate them by saying, great job, and we'd clap for them. Now I could give them a point. That's how this started. That's my whole mindset. Originally, coach, this thing was going to be just intangibles, subjective. Are you a good student? Are you a good teammate? Are you a good citizen? Do you do community service? If we have a playoff softball game, at home especially, I need the football kids to be there. I'd ask them to go, and we'd have 2 or 3 or 4 go. Now, coach, with OVR, go to this softball game, and I'm going to give you +1. If you bring a sign, I'm going to give you another point. If you paint your face, I'm going to give you 2 points. And they're going to want points. So that's how this started. And then I realized after 3 or 4 days of deep diving this that the kid you and I both love, who we'd be proud he was our son-in-law, but he can't start. He doesn't score touchdowns. He ain't going to help us beat Jonesboro. He can't be number one, or this thing isn't going to mean anything. It didn't take me very long to pivot. We got to have some athleticism in this. The Madden stuff is all athleticism. How fast are you and how good are you? So this thing is 40% are you a good athlete? 10% grades and 50% are you a good kid? You tracking with me?
Yep.
Here's how it works. I call this being parent proof because I don't want any parent to be able to say, that's the advantage of me being an ex-coach. I've had parents, you know, and I don't want any parent to say there's any favoritism on this thing. So here's how it works. When your kids make a profile and sign up for OVR, they're going to be asked, what's your height, weight, and grade? And what that does is You remember bigger, faster, stronger. That's where I got this. But a 6 foot, 200 pound freshman should get more points for lifting the same thing as a 6 foot, 200 pound senior. And so that's what this does. So this thing is 7 through 12. We're real close to having females on there. I've got a way where females can use it now, but we don't have it where they can put male or female. I just tell coaches take 30% off. I think you'd want to beta test this with some boys. That's how this works: height, weight, and grade. Everybody gets a chart. There's a big Google Drive folder with all this stuff in there. Let's go medium 10th grade. They have to squat 365 pounds to get a 99 in that little bucket. They have to bench 230 to get a 99. And the way this thing is set up, I would want about one of your kids to be a 99. Not many. It really is about chasing 99. So it needs to be really tough. And you don't need to be Des Bryant Jr. to be a 99, but you need to have some genetics. I'm thinking it's hard to say this, but like a D3 athlete who's a great kid, that to me, that's a 99. And, so GPA, I put 3.8 because I didn't want a kid who just couldn't do it. And all these are subjective. This is all real new. I'm going to poll everyone after the summer that's doing this. Kevin Kelly, by the way, No Punt Guy, does this. I'll poll everybody and see, do y'all like the numbers? I took bigger, faster, stronger, and there's an All American and an All State. These are closer to All State than they are. I thought All American was too hard. So there's the strength, the speed. And I tell the coaches, put this over your urinals because the kids should have no question what their number is. So, like, here's speed, coach. We'll go back to medium 10th grade.
Yeah.
Kids got to run a 4.65 to get a 99 in that little bucket. It's probably okay in Arkansas or Texas. It might be too fast for my kids in Wisconsin. That's where we started. So this is 20%. This page right here, their speed and jumping is 20%. Their strength is 20% because we have to have some athleticism in this. And they're going to know this is a national formula. But here's the hardest thing I had to do, coach, was how do I quantify if you're a good teammate? How do I put a number if you're a good teammate? I really believe there's all kind of programs your coaches or you could buy to do the objective. Strength and speed stuff, bigger, faster, stronger. And I say this humbly, but I got to still say it because I believe it. I think this is the first app or program ever to give a kid a score for being a teammate. Your kids, I wish I could remember their names, but your kids that came to those sessions in the mornings, they would have scored really high on this. And they would have had a number. We used to let kids run through the tunnel with the flags if they had certain scores, but they didn't have a real number. So this, coach, is going to be a way for you to give your kids a number if they're a competitor or a teammate or a student or a citizen. And this took me a long time to figure out. I couldn't have done it without chat, but here's how I landed on it. I call it top dog scoring. So let's just stay with teammate. So Tommy, after we've been doing, so let's say y'all start doing OVR and you said how long you want your season to be. Your season's going to be through the end of summer. Kids that went to that basketball camp, they'd have gotten points for going to that camp. And at the camp, you see somebody high-fiving somebody. You could +1 them and put it under teammate. I'll show you. There's easy ways to score them. But let's say Tommy has 8 points. After 10 days, Tommy has 8 points. Whoever the leader in teammate is, the computer is going to give them a 99. Well, let's say Marcus has 7. He's one behind the leader, so he's probably going to have an 89. John has 6. He's 2 behind the leader. So the computer's going to give him a score. Joe has 4. That's half of Tommy. So he's going to get a 49 and a half. You can look over here on the far right. This subjective is all based on the top dog who has the most points, and you're always chasing the top dog. If you were to go to basketball camp and Coach Jones, the head basketball coach, he's scoring them. They come to work out +1. He's scoring them, but you have access and you're in the bleachers and you see a kid do something. You see a kid help a kid from another team off the floor. Man, I'm going to +1 that kid. If Tommy had 8 and now you +1 him and he's got 9, Joe's points go down because he's getting farther away from Tommy. Tracking, you good? I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I think this is parent proof. The weights and the speed are based on a national formula. This is based on who is, man, like on student. If some kid is helping classmates and making their teacher's life better and all that, they're getting points, then you better ramp up your game because you're going to get farther behind. So that's the whole magic of this thing, I think. So, Coach, I have an Apple Watch, and so your kids are going to get notified. I work out most mornings, and one day my Apple Watch said, "Great job yesterday. You burned 200 calories." I took a picture of it, sent it to my guy. So we added that. And then one Sunday, I got a notification that said, "Tuesday was your best day last week. You burned 200 calories on Tuesday." So sent that to my guy. So every day, coach, last Monday I didn't work out. And my watch basically said, "Hey, fatty, you didn't close any rings yesterday. Let's try to do a little better today." So I took a picture of that and I said, "Here's what I want. I want every night or every morning, every kid to get a notification. If 3 or more points, they're going to get a great job. 1 or 2, they're going to get, okay. And then if 0 points, hey, you didn't get any yesterday. Let's change that story." So on Sunday, they're going to get a notification. And then every day they're going to get a notification. Now, Saturday, maybe not, but they're going to be able to earn badges. This is a truck stick badge. And so these are badges, and I'll show you here in a second. We'll actually get on the app. Coach, this is going live today. This has been so much fun to make because my developer says, whatever you dream up, I can do. You just got to pay for it. And so I dreamed up this. I said, what if kids in Jacksonville, Arkansas, Jacksonville High School, what if they weren't just competing against their teammates? What if there was a leaderboard that showed Grandview, Texas, Sheridan, Arkansas, Whiteland, Indiana, Denver, Colorado? So we call this OVR League. So when your kids put in a profile, they're going to put in their positions. One offense, one defense. So if your kid puts in a linebacker, then he'll have a way to look and see where he rates with every linebacker using OVR. Here's a teacher having access, quick start guides. If you decide to do this, coach, I'll be happy to Zoom with your coaches. Here's the price, coach. It's $449 just for this onboarding fee, and then $8 a kid. And that way, if a basketball team does it with 12 kids, I thought about just charging $12 a kid. Well, honestly, I can't do all this for $144 for a basketball team. And I'll work with you, coach. If you want to use your whole athletic department, it won't be $8 a kid. I'll work with you on it. But I just want you to know it's for 12 months. I think it's really cheap. I tell people it's less than buying a pair of football game socks. Okay, so this is, now let's show you the app. Coach, I can't see you when I'm using this, so if you have any questions, just yell. Here's what I got so far, coach. 35 schools, and that's a little misleading because some of these are test schools and stuff. But if y'all want to use this, coach, I'll give you 2 weeks free. I might just pick whatever coach you think would like this the most. He or she can have 2 weeks free. But that's Eagle Crest, Colorado, Crater, Oregon. That's down around Brownsville, Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio. This Fairhorn, Ohio, wanted to know if they could buy 3 years at one time for a discount. And of course, I said yes. Clark, Princeton, that's a middle school. Rogers, Arkansas, this is a guy who just wanted to test it. I'm not really sure if he's done anything with it. North Mesquite, T.L. Hanna, South Carolina, Chisholm, Oklahoma, Dibble, Oklahoma. Anyway, you can just see HCU and LCU, those are colleges. Comstock Park, Michigan, Steele County, Kentucky, Memorial, Wisconsin. So I think your kids would have a good time with seeing where they're ranked, but also against kids all over the country. I don't think this has ever happened before, so I'm pretty fired up about it. So here is, coach, here's what a coach leaderboard looks like. I mean, not leaderboard. Here's what a coach dashboard looks like. This is my imaginary team. I grew up being a Raiders fan. It's been a curse. So let me just go here. Here's profile, and here's how this works for a coach. So my season length is 20 days. And I'm starting everybody with a 50 OVR because I don't think if a kid got on Madden, they'd have a 12. So why start them there? With Top Dog, they're going to move pretty quick anyway. But if I wanted to, if I were you, I'm probably doing this to the end of the summer. I tell football coaches that that guy from Ohio was just going to start today and go to the end of football season. And I said, well, I would probably do a short season so they could figure it out. And then you start a new season and now they're really ready to go. Here's where you manage roster. So if a kid quits or something, you can remove them. You can put your kids in groups. We call them squads. I had an AD ask me if I could put some reminders in here to the coaches to remember to score kids. I think most of your bigger schools, they assign coaches to these squads. So let's say the O-line coach had Juice Squad and he's responsible for scoring those kids. If they had a conference period at 11, then they'd get a reminder, hey, don't forget, let's score some kids. And then maybe at 8:05 when they're watching HGTV, another one. Here's teammate trivia, coach, where the head coach can put when he wants teammate trivia to happen. And so if your workouts in the summer were at 9 a.m., they're probably at 8. I'm going to show it to you. But on the weekends, we know if we put it at 8 a.m., they're all going to be asleep. So we change it. FAQ, where kids and coaches can kind of have some answers. So here's the coach, and here's the leaderboard. Man, it's beautiful. My guy did a great job on this. It goes to 20. But here's what's great too, coach, is that good kid. And I know you know what I'm talking about, coach. That good kid who's got good parents, but he's never going to be on one of these elite leaderboards. He might be the number one student. We can celebrate that. He might be the number one teammate. That's a huge thing. Number one citizen. So your kids have a chance to be number one in strength, number one in speed and jumping, and number one competitor. They can look offense, defense. They can just sort this by however they want to. Here's the number one guy in strength and speed. Here's the number one guy in are you a good kid or not? Here's the global. Max Crosby, one of my guys, he's number one. I got a kid in South Dakota who's number two. Sheridan, Arkansas is sixth. Seventh. I got to lower my guys because that's not too fair. They don't really earn anything. Crater, Oregon, 16th. And so it goes all the way to 100. Here's a kid in Mesquite, Texas, 24. I think it's pretty cool. You could go, listen, We don't have global for student, but you can do a lot of stuff with this. So here's how you score kids. Here are the objective. You just put in their maxes. You put in their totals. The coaches put it in. We don't want to have any worry if kids are fudging. So the coaches put it in. Here's subjective. Again, the magic of this. You can see at the top here, it says 0% scored today because your coaches have to use this if they're not scoring kids. So let's say, here's how I would do attendance. I got 19 guys here and 17 showed up. So I would select all. George didn't come today and Max didn't come today. Max is number one on a bunch of stuff and he didn't feel like he had to come. So I'm going to go teammate, voluntary workout, +1. If you want to, you can type something in. So let's go Bo. Bo, man, after workout, here's how I would do this, coach. I would say, give me somebody that impressed you today. And I'd ask every coach at workout to give me a big guy and a little guy. Maybe I just write them down. We don't want this to go slow. In the middle of workout, Barry, I used to stop workout and say, it's too quiet in here. I need somebody to give me some juice. And now I think you stop the workout and you say, coaches, give me somebody who's bringing the juice and being loud. Barry's bringing it, coach. Okay, I'm plussing Barry right now. Before workouts, who brought somebody? But boy, here's one you'd probably like. Second sport. So I'm giving a kid, Bo, he's going to a basketball camp. And he went 3 days. I'm going to give him 3 points. Basketball camp. Now, coach, man, I think this is the best part of it is there's a feed here where everyone sees everybody's ratings and scores. They're going to see their ratings on the leaderboard, but here's the thing I think they're going to look at multiple times a day. Bo just got the gold card badge. Bo just got 3 points by Coach Jackson for going to a basketball camp. Cliff got a badge. Kirk Cousins has a 7-day streak going. The streaks don't go on the weekends, so coaches don't have to do that. But Snake got +1 for being at workout. Fernando did something on the weekend that a police officer told me about. He got a jaywalking because if it was MIP or something, it'd be more than just points. Real quick, I'll let you go. Here's what a kid's looks like. As you can see, there used to be a goalpost right there. I took that off because I want this to be for any sport. But here's the feed, coach. So this is Bo's. Bo gets to see Fernando got -4. I think that's good. I want that. And then he sees all the good stuff. Here's Bo's homepage. Bo's got a 7-day streak. Here's teammate trivia. It's closed today because it was from 8 to 9. Which teammate's favorite fast food spot? That's supposed to be Grandy's. I did all these, of course, but Gene Upshaw likes Grandy's. And whoever got that first got 2 points. And if you get it at all, you get 1 point. So here's the leaderboard. Again, here's the global. I've tweaked this a bunch, but this is by position. So this should be by running back. So here's recognitions because like y'all may give a kid 2 points for coming to work out and North Mesquite might give 1 point. So recognitions just means how many times have you been recognized? Well, kid, again, it's new. How many times have you been recognized as a teammate or a student? You can compare yourself to kids all over the United States who are at your position. That way, like O-line, your O-lineman can compare themselves against other O-linemen. Here's the feed profile. He can change all the settings. So here's how this works. Bo right now is a medium power and a standard speed. Let's put Bo at 205. Okay, it didn't change. Let's Put Bo at 215. Uh-oh, that'll change him. Now Bo goes to heavy at 225. That's kind of it, coach. I hope I did a good job explaining that. I think it's a global force for good. It's got to be used, but I think kids will eat it up. Do you have any questions for me?
I agree, Coach. I like it. Can you send me the link we did for recording so I can share that just a couple people?
You talking about this recording?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yep, I've done that.
I talked to you the other day. You told me you had extra copies of your books in the garage closet.
Yeah, I can save you some money on books.
Do you have things that you use, note taking, the curriculum guide, high points that you use in chapters, or extra notes that I could, when we start talking about this with head coaches?
I've never made a book study out of it, but I should have. But honestly, I'd like to say I could do it, but I don't know if I could or not. Depends on when y'all start it. At the end of every chapter, there's some discussion question kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that might be okay. It's paint by numbers. And here's what it is, Barry. Put your year into 4 quarters. This first quarter of off season or athlete development, let's call it something and let's work on something. But honestly, that was 10 years ago, and it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all still really relevant. All your coaches ought to have their own core values.
Right.
And so use that book, but I think this is how you use it every day and score. This is how you bring it to life. And coach, one of the biggest, DeSoto High School. Have you ever heard of DeSoto?
Yeah.
DeSoto's, I saw a poll. They're ranked number 1 in the nation right now, preseason poll. Coach, they're going to have 12 D1 athletes every year. I had a buddy that worked there. Their head coach and I used to work together in Mesquite at DeSoto, and he wanted these books. I said, "Oh, that'd be great, coach. Let me send you some." I got the head coach, and I got a buddy who's his defensive coordinator, and he bought the books. They did a little book study. He told his team about core values, and we're going to have some mottos and slogans. And he made some posters. My defensive coordinator buddy said they never talked about them again. They didn't work. They went 9-3, and that guy got fired. But he said, we were on the right track, and then it ended. I'm a firm believer in this. You can have any culture you want if you're willing to talk about it every day.
Yeah.
I think that's what OVR does. OVR talks about culture every day. Are you a good kid? Whatever you're looking for. Yeah. Let me know if you want me to, if you decide to buy this, I can make you some kind of package deal on the books and the app.